Welcome. My name is Alyssa Melby, Voter Services Chair of the League of Women Voters of Northfield and Cannon Falls. I would like to welcome you to the Northfield Mayor and City Council at-large candidate forum. We thank the candidates and the audience for attending today and our internet audience for viewing. This forum is co-sponsored by Carleton College and St. Olaf College's Institute for Freedom and Community and the Academic Civic Engagement Program. Sponsorship of this forum is a public service providing you with an opportunity to hear the candidates discuss important issues face-to-face and is not an endorsement by the League or the co-sponsors of any particular candidate. The views expressed here today are those of the candidates and not those of the League of Women Voters or the co-sponsors. The League of Women Voters posts complete, unedited recordings of forums, which will also be available online at lwvnorthfieldmn.org within the next week. Editing is authorized only for official media reporting. Excerpts or edited clips of candidate forums may not be used for partisan political purposes. There is never enough time to cover all the issues. If you feel that your question is not addressed, please contact the candidate or candidates directly after the forum. And now I would like to introduce our moderator, Catherine Davis, a certified moderator from the Rochester League of Women Voters.
Thank you, Alyssa. We'll start the candidate forum with opening statements. Each candidate will be given 2 minutes for their opening statements and 1 minute for a closing statement. Opening statements will be in alphabetical order, beginning with Ruth Dahl, candidate for mayor, David DeLong, candidate for city council at large, Brad Ness, candidate for city council at large, and Erica Zweifel, candidate for mayor. The closing statements will be in random order. The order of answering questions will be rotated, and candidates again will have 1 minute to respond to the questions. Please note our timekeepers, volunteers from your local league who have 30 seconds, and then a 15-second sign. They also have a stop sign to be sure that each candidate has a full 1 minute response time. We hope that most, if not all, of the questions will be those submitted by you, the audience. We also have questions submitted by email to the League of Women Voters. And with that, let's begin with opening statements in Candidate Dahl.
Thank you. Good morning. Thanks for being here on this beautiful Saturday morning. I'd like to thank the League, the moderator, for giving us this opportunity to tell the people how we will accomplish the job that we are running for. I'd like to thank St. Olaf also for hosting this. I was born and raised in Northfield. I raised my 4 children here. And I've been a member of the business community here and served the community on the school board for 17 years. This is what I believe we need to change in Northfield as a leader for the City Council. We need to curb the appetite for spending on large projects in Northfield. We need to lower the taxes. We need to listen to and respect the citizens of Northfield, for they pay all the bills for the city. It's not sustainable, as I said, to do all these large projects all at the same time. Leave Bridge Square alone. It's beautiful, historic. We do not need to change it into a plaza. I believe we have a parking problem. I've said this before. And isn't it wonderful? We have a parking problem, and other towns around us don't have that parking problem, and they wish they had our parking problem. They have stores and storefronts that are boarded up. You can park on their main street or side street any time of the day or evening because they do not have vibrant downtowns. We have a parking problem, and I think it's a good parking problem. I think we can do better with the parking spaces we currently have. We need to create affordable housing options in rental and in ownership, and I've worked many years in this arena. It's doable. We need to make our development office open for new business and welcoming to housing developers. I will mention this again later. Please vote. We need to hear your voice. Thank you.
Thank you. Candidate DeLong.
Thank you. I would like to thank the League of Women Voters, Northfield, and Cannon Falls for providing this opportunity for voters to become more informed about the choices they have in the upcoming elections. For those of you who don't know me, I'm David DeLong. I'm an Army veteran, a City Council veteran, community veteran. On my last year on the council, the levy increase was 3.7%. The minute I was off the council, it was like the floodgates opened. Without that persnickety Dave guy asking questions, the property tax levy increased to 11.6, then 18.5, and this year a proposed 17.2 increase. Taxpayers can't keep absorbing these increases. Things need to change, and that's why I'm running. Thank you.
Thank you. Candidate Ness.
Thank you. I'd like to thank the League of Women Voters also and St. Olaf College and Carleton College for their involvement in this process. I am currently finishing my second term on the City Council as one of 2 at-large members. And I truly believe that it's very important to get involved in council business, council committees, council boards, and other things in the community. I love to give back to the city of Northfield. Here's a partial list of what I'm currently doing. I've been a member of the Defeated Jesse James Days Committee since 1983, twice as general chair. I'm a current member of the Minnesota Swim Officials Association. I'm in my 49th year of officiating high school swimming and 47th year officiating college meets for Carleton and St. Olaf mostly. I'm current chair of the Northfield Convention and Visitors Bureau, and I've been on that board since 2009. I'm the current treasurer for Lincoln Court North Homeowners Association, and I think that's a lifetime appointment because no one else wants to do it. I'm a member of the Northfield Fire and Rescue Service Joint Powers Board and chair of the Finance Committee, and have served that board twice as chair. I'm a current member of the Rice Steel 911 Joint Powers Board, and I'm on the City Employment Committee. As you can see, I stay active in what the city is trying to accomplish and some for my own giving back to the city of Northfield. Thank you.
Thank you. Candidate Zweifel.
Yes, thank you so much. Thank you all for being here today, and thank you to the League and our sponsors. Apologize in advance for my voice. I am clearly allergic to something that's happening outside today. I would like to open with an observation. I've been listening and engaging with many of you, and thank you so much for that. And I share your concern around the disconnect between the current direction of the council and the ability of Northfielders to pay for that direction. Last week, like many of you, I toured the food shelf. The CAC had several open houses, and I learned that 1 in 4 Northfielders is using a CAC food shelf. That's 25% of Northfield, or around 5,000 people. So when people say they can't absorb the recent tax increases, there is real data behind that. So knowing this as mayor, I would prioritize the city's work around equity and making Northfield a better place for all of us. When we add to the commercial and industrial tax base, it benefits all of us. And as mayor, this would be one of my top priorities. When we add more shade to all of our parks, it benefits all of us. And when we use the city's resources to collaborate and build affordable housing, it benefits all of us. I would like to work with all of you, and I would appreciate your support. Thank you.
Thank you. We'll begin the question portion now, and this first question will come to Candidate Zweifel first, followed by Candidate Ness. The City Council's chief responsibility is to set strategy for the city. What strategic initiatives would you push for? We'll begin with Candidate Zweifel.
Great. Yes, I like many of the current strategic initiatives. I think the prioritization is where we have gone astray. So like I just said, my top priority would be to add to the commercial and industrial tax base. I think our climate action goals are excellent, and there are some things we can do there to benefit all of us. Like I mentioned, planting trees and artificial shade in parks, and water features in our various wards as the temperature rises around with climate change, and addressing the flood mitigation needs. I would weave diversity, equity, and inclusion into everything that we do. As I just mentioned some examples about that, about how I would weave it into parks and housing. And that leads me to housing, which is, I think, the last initiative I'll have time for. We need all types of housing for all stages of life, and government does play a specific role in affordable housing. And if I have time, I'll get to that later. Thank you.
Thank you. Candidate Ness, and then after that will be Candidate Dahl.
Thank you. We are currently in our second strategic initiative operation on the city council level. And it seems to me that that item on most agendas gets pushed forward because we run out of time to get updates, to make changes. I think the city could do a better job of perhaps even putting that agenda item first on the list so it cannot be pushed off the list. We need to discuss those things a little stronger, and as Erica mentioned, commercial development is a huge push for me. And we're working on that. We've hired an extra community development person to try and get more commercial development in town, and I think that ends my time. Thank you.
Thank you. Candidate Dahl, and then we'll go to Candidate DeLong.
Well, I think strategically, those plans need to be fluid and they need to be flexible. Sometimes you get caught in the rhetoric of each line says we need to do this now, and you don't stop and look at today's picture. Today's picture, if we listen to what the citizens are telling us, is clear about tax rates are too high. Okay, what do we do about that particular problem? To me, that is looking strategically at a high priority item. How do we fix it? We fix it with development of business and job opportunities in Northfield. We fix it with finding ways to do affordable housing ownership and rental. And we need to stop and take a breath and back up and look at that, maybe once a month. Are we doing the strategic things that are really important that need to be covered now instead of letting them get buried in an agenda? Thank you.
Thank you. Candidate DeLong.
Could you repeat the question, please?
Absolutely. City Council's chief responsibility is to set strategies for the city. What strategic initiatives would you push for?
First, I would have to disagree a little with the chief responsibility of the council being strategic planning. The main purpose of the city council is to promote the health, safety, and well-being of the citizens of Northfield. A strategic plan is part of that mission, but as Ruth said, they need to be fluid. We need to, it's fine to plan 20 years out, but if you got a problem that's immediate, say for instance flooding or a tornado, you need to be able to adapt to that almost immediately. So the health, safety, and well-being of the citizens is the chief responsibility. Thank you.
Thank you. I'm going to ask some questions that were submitted by email prior to the forum. In this first question, the first two respondents will be Candidate DeLong, followed by Candidate Dahl. Northfield residents have voiced concerns about the need for community consultation and transparency in decision-making. What is your sense of what the city is currently doing to involve the community in its decision-making processes, and what more would you do if elected?
I can't speak for the city council. However, I can speak for previous city councils. And the communications aspect is lacking. The charter requires a hearing of the public at each regular council meeting. And now that the council pushed that into a listening session, which for the past meetings, no one has shown up for. So you have all this expensive staff sitting there and no one comes to talk because, in my opinion, it's all set up to be imposing. People do not feel comfortable. They feel singled out. The previous method of having 2 minutes, some cities allow 3 minutes, but you get up there, you say your piece, you go on. But then they always just thank the people for their comments, no additional follow-up.
Thank you. Candidate Dahl, and then we'll go to candidate Zweifel.
I would say communications need to improve, period. And I will share with you, my neighborhood is the one that started the petition to ask the city council to reconsider how they were doing the bike paths. They didn't say stop, they said reconsider, reassess. So I feel that the City Hall needs to be open and more welcoming to people with comments and use those comments rather than throw them out. 189 different streets were covered when we took that petition out, which surprised me. I didn't know there was 189 streets in Northfield. But at least one person on each one of those blocks said, no, don't keep doing this. And the city didn't listen. I think we need to open the doors. I think we need to be positive about receiving comments and follow up. And I don't see that happening with the current council or city hall. Thank you.
Thank you. Candidate Zweifel, followed by candidate Ness.
Yes, thank you. I have a lot to say about this issue. I work at Carleton College Center for Community and Civic Engagement, so I have a bit of a civic engagement background. The first thing I would do would be to start earlier with the community engagement and the comments. We know what capital improvements are coming our way. We know what road projects are coming our way. If we can get out in front of it sooner, get to those neighborhoods sooner, and then that way the community knowledge that we receive can be incorporated into the design process. Right now they're coming to you with, here's the design, thank you very much. We need to start earlier and truly engage with the residents and incorporate their concerns into the design process. In terms of meeting times, I think we need to rethink the council meeting times if possible. Think about transportation, daycare, when are people working, when can people come and engage with us? And if we can get out into the community, engage with people where they're at, that would be phenomenal. So, thank you.
Great. Thank you. Let's stay on the same vein as far as, oh, I'm so sorry, candidate Ness. Oh my gosh, so sorry.
I know, I'm invisible.
I just got excited about the next question.
Involving the community in discussions is a big issue. Our communications department has changed gears, and communication gets discussed at least once every other meeting. How can we do it best? What can we change? And I agree with David that the listening sessions have failed. We need to discuss a new option, figure it out, what's best to get the community involved. The community does have a lot of options when it comes to communicating with the council. They can talk during the agenda on the specific item. Council people are available by phone, by email, so the options are open to them. We just need to figure out how to get that word out and how to involve the community in the discussions of items or issues involved. Thank you.
Thank you. Let's stay in the same vein as far as involvement in decision making, and this will come to candidate Ness first, followed by candidate Zweifel. How do you think boards and commissions should be utilized in making decisions such as new building and use of Parkland?
I think it's vitally important to use the boards and commissions in a lot of discussion in issues that are coming to the council. We've recently given direction to the EDA to lead the discussions on several big projects in town, and they have taken that and they've come back once. This is a long process, but I think a change like that is vitally important, and I think it will work. But we need to involve all of the boards and commissions to get their input. That's why we ask them to be a board or commission, and they are volunteers. And if they are ignored, they won't volunteer again. So we need to involve them in sort of a big way with what they believe. Thank you.
Thank you. Candidate Zweifel, then it'll be candidate DeLong.
Yeah, thank you. I just wanted to share a little information as I start my answer to this question. We have a couple boards and commissions that are a little different from the others. If it has the word authority behind it, like the Economic Development Authority or the Housing and Redevelopment Authority, they have their own levy option and bonding options, and they have more autonomy to do projects on their own. Then we have the Planning Commission, which is working on our comprehensive plan and looks at our street designs and is just in there constantly providing advice to the council. And then our many other boards and commissions serve an advisory role to the council, which I very much appreciated when I was on the council. Looked to them a lot for what their take on the issue was. And in my last 15 seconds, I just want to encourage all of you to consider applying for a board or commission, and I'd love to work with you all. Thank you.
Thank you. Candidate DeLong, and then it'll be candidate Dahl.
Yes, advisory boards and commissions are good. They provide kind of a check and balance, in my opinion, or should provide a check and balance. These people are not politically responsible to anyone, and I think that provides them with more of a clear path. I like the opinion of a third person. Now, a lot of times recently, boards and commissions are given direction by the council and are used to reinforce a council position rather than just being an advisory board. So I would like more independence for them. And the council always has the option and has taken the option of saying no. And when they say no to a board, they're supposed to give a reason, but that really hasn't happened.
Thank you. Candidate Dahl.
I think the education that we receive from commissions or authorities should help the council make decisions. And I think that's primarily their responsibility. They look at issues in depth. They are focused on a particular area, and that should be helpful information to the council. And as I see it, unfortunately, I think they work in silos. Everybody has their own focus, and that's what they do. I would like to see that group, or the leaders, the chairs of all the commissions, authorities come together once or twice a year. So each commission authority knows what the other one is doing. And it seems to me that would provide a more wide perspective for anyone that's involved in a commission or an authority to have a greater understanding of the council and what the public is thinking, how they're responding, and help supply a broader education to the council. Thank you.
Thank you. Another question that was submitted prior to the forum, and the order will be candidate Dahl followed by candidate DeLong. What do you see as additional responsibilities in purview of the role of the mayor? If you're running for mayor, how will you carry those out? If you are running for council, how do you hope the mayor will carry these out? And again, candidate Dahl, let's begin with you.
So as I understand your question, other responsibilities of the mayor's position or office as far as being a champion for Northfield, I think what is not happening, which I would change, is the ability to listen, open to public opinion. And I like to make a collaborative effort of change. You can't just do it from the top down and expect people to say, this is a really great idea, let's just do this. You know, you need to bring more people together to get more opinions, because this is one of those processes that more heads are better than one, than just top-down decision-making. So I would, use a a different process probably than is currently being used. And I want the staff involvement. It doesn't matter if it's the maintenance department or the finance department. Everybody is important when it comes to city decision-making.
Thank you. Candidate DeLong, and then we'll go to candidate Zweifel.
Okay, boys and girls, this is where I trot out my Star Trek reference. The mayor is like Captain Picard. The council members are like Riker and Geordi and Worf. They throw in their 2 cents so that a well-rounded decision can be made. But the final decision is the mayor or Captain Picard, who then says, make it so. So you have the mayor as the leader. The other council people should contribute each in their own specialties towards the best decision. And then we have the decision and we go forward. So sorry, I'm Star Trek and not Star Wars. Thank you.
Thank you. Candidate Zweifel, followed by candidate Ness.
Thank you. I was thinking Star Wars, Star Trek, Star Wars, Star Trek. Oh gosh, that's a whole nother conversation. But I'm happy to have that afterward. I'm a big fan of both. So I, on my 3 terms on the council, I served with 3 different mayors, and they all did this a little differently, and I learned some different things from each one. So one of the additional duties is facilitating the council meetings, and the thing that I would like to apply there is a welcoming culture for people that come to address the council. As we've noted here tonight, the listening sessions aren't working, so let's figure out something that does work. The second thing is the ceremonial duties, and when I was on the council with Mayor Rossing, she would do that collaboratively with the council members. So I was just thinking defeat of Jesse James and the grave ceremony where the mayor is there. I would ask either of the at-large folks here, one of whom will be elected, to do something like that, to share those duties. There are people who really lean into certain aspects of Northfield, and I would share those. And then,
And thank you so much, candidate Zweifel.
I'll try to work the next thing in later.
And candidate Ness.
Thank you. I think Northfield's city charter spells out a lot of the mayoral duties. For those of you who haven't read it, it is online. Northfield is a charter city, not a statutory city, and there's some big differences. We run on a charter that's sort of like our Constitution, but it does say the mayor is responsible for ABC. One of the big responsibilities of the mayor is to set the agenda with the city administrator. City administrator will usually know what needs to be brought to the council well in advance: street projects, building projects, maintenance projects, and those are the biggest important things in my mind to keep the facilities up to date and keep the utilities all functioning properly. Thank you.
Thank you. Another question that was submitted prior to the forum will begin with candidate Ness, followed by candidate Zweifel. With respect to several large capital projects currently underway, concerns have been raised about the processes for carrying out these projects. What do you think is the role of consultants in these decision-making processes? And under what circumstances should a large capital project be put to a vote to the community? Candidate Ness.
I think the use of a consultant is an absolute necessity. We can hire staff to do many of these projects, but let's say someone in the engineering department probably would cost the city approximately $150,000 a year with salary and benefits. We can hire a consultant who knows what the state statutes are if, let's say, a street project. They will design it, draw it, and they'll be involved in the bidding process. So consultants, yes, we spend a lot of money on consultants, but we would also spend a lot of money on the employees. So 6 of one, half a dozen the other. Sending it to a vote, I think we are a representative republic, and we're not a democracy. Democracy says citizens would vote on everything. We are voting on your behalf. Thank you.
Thank you. Candidate Zweifel, and then we'll go to candidate Dahl.
Thank you. Obviously, a minute is not adequate to answer this question, so I'll focus on a few things. The way that we're currently working and stacking all of these projects together, we've surpassed the capacity of the staff, the council, and the public to track these projects and engage with their design, even follow what stage they're at, and then something will come up with one project, and because they're all stacked together, now we have to take another project off the board. It's getting very confusing. It shouldn't be confusing to follow the projects. We need to have pages for all the projects on their website. That's not happening right now. And when to vote, I would send non-essential services to the voters. So when I was on the council previously, we did send the ice arena to the voters for a vote. I would have done the same with this ice arena. I would prefer a privately owned ice arena, and I would send non-essential capital projects like an ice arena or a swimming pool to the voters.
Thank you. Candidate Dahl, and then we'll go to candidate DeLong.
As I stated right in my opening statements, we're doing too many large projects all at the same time. It's just not doable. We need strong staff people who actually believe and buy into what they're doing in City Hall. Those are experts in their field. They're educated as to engineering projects or street maintenance projects. I think we have excessive and dependence on consultants in the wrong way. If we need the expertise, let's go out and find it, let's use it, and let's incorporate it. But I don't want to depend on a consultant that we've hired, so we have a consultant who has signed a contract for a big project. No, that has to be a city staff person that stands up and is willing to do the job and has bought into the project. Currently, that's not happening with a couple of projects that this current city council is considering. Thank you.
Thank you. Candidate DeLong.
Yes, as Erica said a minute, it's kind of an impossible task, but when does the consultant get entered into the conversation? In time to impart impartial advice? Or is that consultant just to reinforce what a majority of the council wants? And usually if it's at that point, consultants give an opinion that's going to please the majority of the council because they want another consulting contract later on. If you tell a council that no, you guys are on the wrong track, well, that consultant's going to be out of business after a while. So, and bonding for large items, the state has specific requirements for what projects you can have a, okay, I'll stop.
Thank you. So the next question is somewhat of a follow-up, and this comes from our audience, and we'll begin with candidate DeLong and then go to candidate Dahl. Given that the City Council has already approved several large capital projects, should any of these projects be revised or rejected?
Okay, continuing with my previous thought. Yes. You know, you make an offer on a house, and that house is not yours until all the paperwork has been signed. If there's any realtors out there, you know how many things can go wrong between offer and acceptance. Offers fall through all the time. And to provide, you know, there's going to be a turnover in the council, and there's going to be new eyes on things. And if something doesn't pass the smell test, I will say stop so we don't throw good money after bad. But, you know, it's not second guessing. It's getting the best deal for the community as a whole. Thank you.
Thank you. Candidate Dahl, and then we'll go to candidate Ness.
Would you repeat the question?
Absolutely. Given the City Council has already approved several large capital projects, should any of these projects be revised or rejected?
Okay, I think wherein lies the confusion for me as a candidate, me as a citizen, you as citizens, to understand exactly where is this? Like, is that a done deal or is it not? It's very difficult to get a straight answer as to where things are in the process. So I'm a firm believer we're doing way too many large projects. They're all stacked up. And if we can withdraw and back off a year or 2 or 3 or 10 on some of these projects, that's perfectly fine. There's nothing wrong with waiting a year or 2. There might be a better way to do it. Some other opportunity might come forward. Or, we just might have an emergency where we need to rely on our checkbook and for the city for other reasons rather than a large capital outlay that is a want, not a need in the city. So I would first you have to sort out exactly where you are. I want to know where the projects are, and then we'll take steps forward from there. Thank you.
Thank you. Candidate Ness, and then we'll follow that with candidate Zweifel.
Thank you. I think we are evaluating projects as they come along. For instance, the ice arena. I think that's been on a discussion since I joined the council 8 years ago. And I think it was discussed well before that. So the discussion has been going on. We found a way to involve private partnerships. The school district is kicking in $200,000 a year toward the project. The Hockey Association is kicking in to at least $2 million. We sold the old arena for $1 million. So the $20 million ice arena is actually costing the city $10 million. And we will have agreements with those other entities. And I've told the superintendent of schools that if the school district does back out of that agreement, I think that a referendum for the schools would never pass again in this town. But that's my opinion.
Thank you. Candidate Zweifel.
Yes, thank you. I think we need to keep the big picture in mind and not address things one at a time as they come on. I think that's what's gotten us to where we are now, is that, oh yeah, that sounds reasonable, and that sounds reasonable, and that sounds reasonable. But when you aggregate them all together, we're in an unreasonable situation. So I think we need to address the big picture and how this many projects impacts what we can do as a city. And like I said, I would use the priorities I listed earlier to look at the projects that come before us, the strategic goals of does it add to the commercial industrial tax base? What's the climate impact? What's the equity impact? What's the housing impact? All these things that we say that we desperately need as a city, we have to focus on those and set those priorities. And there's something on this list of big projects that's not on this list of big projects, and that's the NCRC that houses our food shelf, houses our senior center, houses our United Way, houses Healthy Community Initiative. That desperately needs a remodel, and we put that on the back burner so we can do some of these bigger, shinier projects.
Thank you. Our next question is a question from the audience. We'll begin with candidate Zweifel and then to candidate Ness. A large portion of Northfield's population has a household income of approximately $60,000 per year. What is your plan to provide and expand housing for families so they can afford it? Candidate Zweifel.
That's the whole thing. Okay, great. Thank you. Thank you for that question. So yes, we need housing at all levels. And for all stages of life. And I think that's happening really well right now. The housing market has rebounded, and developers are handling the market rate aspect of that. Government plays a specific role in affordable housing. Affordable housing often has to happen at the margins. You get the piece of land that the developers prefer not to develop, or it's too expensive to develop. It's further from downtown. It's further from resources. It's further from maybe it's not connected to transportation. So in our governmental role, when we think about housing and affordable housing in particular, we need to think about the intersection of that housing the transportation, the connectivity, how close is it to resources, and then the city does have some specific financial support things that it can do, and it should reserve those for affordable housing. It should use those tools when it has them for affordable housing. Thank you.
Thank you. Candidate Ness and then Candidate DeLong.
Thank you. Affordable housing, I think, gets at least mentioned at most every council meeting that I've been to. And if I had the answer to the question, I certainly wouldn't be here. I would be somewhere doing that. It's a very hard question to answer. We do have one thing that controls it. Developers that come to the council and say, I want to build an apartment building, but I need some tax increment financing to bridge the gap of the financing I've arranged with the bank. We can then require that apartment building to have a certain percentage of affordable housing. And we use that quite often. It's probably not enough, but it's a start, and the HRA, Housing and Redevelopment Authority, is doing a great job on trying to find grants and other money, federal money, state money, to try and help that problem move forward. Thank you.
Thank you. Candidate DeLong, and then it will be Candidate Dahl.
One of the keys to affordable housing is also having affordable city services and taxes. The higher the taxes, the less affordable it's going to be. And apartment dwellers are in that equation also, because that landlord, if his taxes go up $5,000 a year, that's getting passed on to each and every tenant. We also have an older population in town. Like myself, I'm in a, 2-bedroom rambler. I don't need all that space anymore. Empty nester. I can't afford to move into something else. My house is all nice and paid for, and I'm good to go. A lot of the new houses are in the 300, 325, 350. We also, boy, that went quick. Sorry.
Thank you, Candidate DeLong. Candidate Dahl.
Okay, this is one of my favorite subjects. I have worked in affordable housing arenas in 3 different states. It's doable. And you start with that premise. Now, do we need more houses with 14 different roof lines and 4 garages built? Maybe not. Maybe some people can afford that. Bless them. Let them go on their way and do as they choose. Now, can we find a developer that wants to come in and build homes that maybe would sell between $200,000 and $300,000? And then we also develop the business arena, which brings the jobs to town, and those people can afford a mortgage and start building equity if we can marry those 2 things together. And I think that's sometimes the idea is like, oh, well, we can't do affordable housing, Northfield taxes are too high today. Yes, all the pieces need to come together, but I'm here to tell you it's doable because I've done it. Thank you.
Thank you. Another question from the audience, and we'll begin with Candidate Dahl, followed by Candidate DeLong. Attracting industrial commercial business is a highly competitive endeavor. Exactly how would you do this, and how can we afford shovel-ready land?
Okay, I've spent some time talking with Rice County Commissioner about this issue. Faribault has done an excellent job of creating shovel-ready opportunities. And that means we have utilities that run out to the project, and it's a piece of land that a developer of a business or some type of factory or whatever can look at it and say, yes, my building would fit on this piece of property. This might be doable. Let's explore a little further. And that's not happening in Northfield. That we've had land west of the hospital. It's been sitting there for a decade. Nobody's done a thing with it. Now, we need to think about moving forward, and we need to provide the direction for the city staff to make that happen. And we need a salesman who is excellent in the economic development area that can reach out and produces an RFP, a request for proposal, to these people and doesn't miss an opportunity that becomes public. Thank you.
Thank you. Candidate DeLong, followed by candidate Zweifel.
Yes, I agree with Ruth. We need a salesperson. We need someone out there beating the bushes, tracking down leads. And maybe it's time to say to the real estate people in town, you bring in a proposal that catches. I don't know how we do it, but here's a $25,000 finder fee. Maybe if we had a couple projects that we're ready to go, but there's no water out here, because you could handle some with a septic system. But losing a tangible industry, that might spur the council into saying, oh yeah, we should shove a water pipe out there. Maybe we can do sewer later because a warehouse doesn't need that much septic, not like a college dorm. But wow, it's a good thing that's in red. Thank you.
Thank you. Candidate Zweifel, followed by candidate Ness.
I think your minute is shorter, David. Sure. And mine seems to be too. But number one, it needs to be a priority, and council needs to give that direction. That is a top priority to add commercial and industrial tax base. Supporting our current businesses is key too, to support their current and future development. Many of our businesses are doing quite well and are looking to expand. How can we support that expansion? We are a desirable community. And it's odd, I feel like we've been using a shotgun approach to attract businesses, and I think we need to use a more targeted approach. We know what we're good at. We know that we're good at education, healthcare, and manufacturing. These are the top economic sectors from the census. I'm not making this up. And I think if we could focus on those top economic sectors when we're recruiting businesses, find businesses that are complementary to our current businesses, and ask our current businesses, hey, who would you like to see here? What business, if we brought this business in, would it help your bottom line? Those sorts of conversations I'd like to see. Thank you.
Thank you. Candidate Ness.
Thank you. Commercial industrial development is critical. The city hired a new community development director approximately a year and a half ago, Jake Riley, and he has done some things. It takes a while for attracting a business that's going to build a $10 million building. You don't just call somebody up and they start tomorrow. But he is working on that. He's hired someone in staff to help. He's gotten on Xcel Energy's list of potential places that companies can build such a thing, and it's in the Northwest area. He's changing some things in the land development code to make it easier for businesses to start or to look at Northfield. So that's the important things, but we do need that because everyone's property taxes would be reduced some. Thank you.
Thank you. Another question from the audience, and we'll begin with candidate DeLong, followed by candidate Ness. How will you see that the city supports Northfield Senior Center, AKA 50 North, going forward?
Being an older adult myself, because not all seniors are older adults, see, I can learn politically correct phrases. The older adult population in Northfield, in the state, is growing exponentially. There'll be more older adults, 50 plus, than kids in the K through 12 system. They need support. Studies have shown that important to their health and well-being is interaction with other adults, fresh air, exercise, and the 50 North provides a lot of this. Provides classes for continuing education, the safe driver classes, ping pong tournaments. This is an important segment of the population. That building the maintenance has been pushed aside, and as shown by the ice arena, you can't put no money into it and expect it to maintain. Thank you.
Thank you. Candidate Ness and then Candidate Zweifel.
Thank you. The Community Resource Center, where the Northfield Senior Center is located, was on a contract with a separate organization, separate corporation, who was not doing maintenance. There's a lot of deferred maintenance. The city took over that contract, or that building's maintenance, about a year ago, and found some big problems. The budget for that building in previous years was approximately $130,000. We've had to up it to about $350,000 just to replace some systems. The furnaces are all going, the air conditioning's going. We had the roof replaced with a hailstorm, so that didn't cost anything, but it's important to keep those buildings up to date, so big expenses like that may not happen, but leases will have to be renegotiated to cover some of those things in the future.
Thank you. Candidate Zweifel, followed by Candidate Dahl.
Thank you. This is one where I want to go in two different directions, so maybe I'll try to do both. One is the 50 North does a phenomenal job working in our community with health and fitness and wellness, and collaborating with other groups like Age Friendly and some of our other senior facilities like Northfield Retirement Community and 3 Links. So we really have a strong culture there, and I want to be supportive of that. I am supportive of that. I taught water aerobics at the 50 North for a while, and I believe we're all 50 North up here at the table, so that's kind of fun. I support the entire building. Like I mentioned, the food shelf is there, United Way is there, Growing Up Healthy is there, Healthy Community Initiative is there. So when we talk about raising rates to the tenants of that building to cover the maintenance costs, that's who we're raising the rents to. And the tenants have been complaining for years about the HVAC system and the locker rooms and the bathrooms. When I was there, they were inadequate. And so the city has known about this. They may have had a contractor who didn't fulfill the obligation, but they have known about this. Thank you.
Thank you. So we have time for one more question. Oh, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. Candidate Dahl.
50 North is great. It's a well-used community building. I think we need to fix what needs to be fixed, bring it up to date. Obviously, if there's some building code issues, just get it done, get it fixed. An enormous amount of, thousands of people use that building all the time. It's used for education, it's used for bringing community together, it's used for arts and entertainment productions. Besides providing, as Erica talked about, the food shelf and other critical community provisions. And I think that the rest of it's fine. There's good parking around, it's located in a good position. It's a good building. Let's just fix what we need to be fixed. Just like if you needed a new roof, you put it on a new roof. If you needed a new kitchen sink, you'd put in a new kitchen sink. Let's look at it that way, and let's just get it done. It doesn't have to be a voted on issue. Thank you.
Thank you. We have time for one more question. This one, we will begin with Candidate Zweifel, followed by Candidate Ness. What is the decision-making relationship between the City Council and the city staff? What decisions does the staff make, and when do they follow the directives of the council?
Thank you. That's an excellent question. Again, a minute is not going to be adequate to address this question, but it is the council's responsibility to set clear direction for city staff to implement. And so one of the things I've observed recently is the tendency to get a little bit further in the weeds than I think we need to get. And so as mayor, I would want to ask questions, probing questions of staff in the meeting, asking them, which I did when I was on the council, do you have the direction you need from the council before we wrap up an issue? And they might say, no, we need a little more information about this X policy. So that's what I would lean into as the mayor and the facilitator of the meetings and the setter of the agenda with the city administrator, is making sure we know what policy directions do staff need to do their job well, and we should provide those. Thank you.
Candidate Ness, and then we'll go to candidate Dahl.
Thank you. It's very important that staff brings forward these issues with the council knowing how, maybe not how to vote, but which direction the staff would like to take. As you may know, the council has 2 regular meetings, the first and third Tuesday of every month. The second Tuesday is almost always a work session where staff will bring a project forward and try and tell us, okay, what's the history? If they have a rough cost, what's the cost? So council has a knowledge of what they want to bring forward for a final vote. So it's a good communication process now, I think. Could it be improved? Absolutely. And I'd be open to that, but it seems to work, at least for the council.
Thank you. Candidate Dahl, and then we'll go to candidate DeLong.
Okay, I think we need to fix communication, period. I think the council people are working in silos. They look at their particular subject matter. They get sometimes 400 to 600 pages 2 or 3 days before a meeting, and they're expected to digest all that information that will be on the agenda and use it to the benefit of the taxpayers. And I don't think that's kind of humanly possible. When I was on the school board, we would set up a meeting either with a financial person or the superintendent a week before the meeting. Questions could be asked 1-on-2 or 1-on-1 with either one of those administrators, and we got more information, more education on exactly what we're voting on. And I think another piece that's critical missing now is I don't hear enough questions from the current council members as to why are we doing that? Now, wait a minute. I need to see all the financial information on that particular project. So I think we can improve that.
Right. Candidate DeLong.
Yes, I would agree with the questioner. Some things come to the council in a nice tied up bundle, just ready to go, and it shows up on the consent agenda. And I'm saying, where did they talk about this before? Now, the mayor and the city administrator set the agenda, but when there's been no information, no council input until it shows up on the consent agenda, I'm thinking, wow, what's this? So yes, I think there needs to be some clarity on this matter. The previous councils were always good at telling people they had 2 minutes to make a comment. Maybe we ought to let staff condense their 20-minute presentation down to 2 and handle more stuff. Maybe we need 3 council meetings. I don't know, but that's for a whole council to decide, not me. Thank you.
Thank you. And with that, we'll move into closing statements. Each candidate will have 1 minute for their closing statement, and the order will be candidate Ness, followed by candidate Zweifel, candidate Dahl, and candidate DeLong. Candidate Ness.
Thank you. Again, I'd like to thank the League of Women Voters of Northfield and Cannon Falls for hosting this forum. Thank you to our moderator. Thank you to Alyssa Melby for planning this event. Thank you to St. Olaf College and Carleton College for being involved in this. And I think the city has, as we mentioned, a lot of communicating to do. I learned early on in a sales presentation that everyone was given 2 ears and 1 mouth. Use them in proportion. I think that's vitally important, and that's what I try to do. I think that's a sign of a good leader, is using those in proportion. So just please remember to vote. Early voting is now open at City Hall, second floor training room, or you can vote November 5th at your designated polling place. Thank you.
Thank you. Candidate Zweifel.
Thank you. I'm going to use my first 30 seconds on an issue we didn't cover, which is regional collaboration. So when you're addressing things like our climate threats, flooding, it's really important to have regional partners and regional relationships to bring to the table. I have many of those. It's also, if we can address transportation adequately, then a regional solution for housing could be on the table. So I just wanted to bring up, that was one question that wasn't asked, that is a strength of mine, is regional collaboration. So thank you all for being here today, and thank you to the sponsors and the league. This has been really fun and lovely, and I appreciate hearing from everyone at the table. Thank you for everyone who's running for office. This is incredibly challenging. I have lit on the table. My website is ericaformayor.org. 4 is spelled out as a word, not a number. And I would very much appreciate your vote so we can work together. Thank you.
Thank you. Candidate Dahl.
Thank you again for putting this opportunity together for us to speak. I have information in the back also. I want what's best for my hometown. We can't have people talking about, oh, we're thinking about leaving Northfield because the taxes are too high and they're just going up. We have to stop that activity. We are planning too many expensive projects in the next 2 to 3 years. Not doable. Taxpayers are also asked to support our public school system. We have a really good public school system, but they're digging in the same taxpayer pocket we are, and we need better communication with the school district so we don't run into this head-to-head kind of spending. We need to listen to the people of Northfield and what they're trying to convey or tell the council. We need to open the doors of City Hall for developers and business development. Again, I thank you. I want you to remember, please vote Tuesday, November 5th. If you don't vote, we don't hear your voice.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. And Candidate DeLong.
Just last Tuesday night, the council voted for a 17.2% tax levy increase. So if you're in favor of a 17.2 levy increase, and if you're in favor of a $6 million muni and a $5 million bridge square plan, go ahead and vote with Councilor Ness. A 35 to 55 million water plant is not me. The $750,000 bike trail that's across from the high school, was it really necessary? We got some federal money, but we also paid enough of our money. If you want change, to change the direction of the council, then vote for people that want a true change. One of those persons is David DeLong. Thank you for listening, and thank you for attending. Thank the League of Women Voters, and thank you to my two-timer buddies in the front row. and I beat you because you didn't put up the stop sign.
Thank you. Thank you, candidates. I again would like to remind you that the views expressed in this forum are those of the candidates, not those of the League of Women Voters or the co-sponsors. Sponsorship of this forum is not an endorsement of any candidate, of LWV, or the co-sponsors. And I'd like to welcome Alyssa Melby back up for our closing.
Thank you so much, Catherine, for your moderation of today's forum. The League of Women Voters of Northfield Cannon Falls, the Institute for Freedom and Community, and the Academic Civic Engagement Program at St. Olaf College and Carleton College would like to thank you all for attending today and our internet audience for viewing. We would especially like to thank our candidates for being part of the democratic process by running for office and their willingness to serve our community. We also wish to thank all of the volunteers who gave their time today to make this event happen. The League also researches issues important to our members and to the health of our communities. If you're interested in finding more about what we do and how you can make a difference, please pick up a membership brochure at our table or visit us at lwvmn.org. Membership is open to anyone ages 16 and older. You can find more information about candidates and voting at vote411.org and lwvmn.org. Links to all the candidate forums and additional voter information can be found at our local league website, lwvnorthfieldmn.org. In addition, we encourage voters to use other educational materials and resources and events, like KYMN Radio's 2024 election guide and the Northfield Chamber of Commerce's upcoming candidate forum on October 3rd, to learn more about their candidates. Again, thank you for coming, and remember to vote in the general election on November 5th. We will take a brief 10-minute recess with the next forum for Northfield City Council Ward 2 and Ward 3 at 11:30 a.m., followed by a forum for the Northfield School Board candidates at 1 p.m. Thank you.